Welcome, everyone. This is Thor. Thor is keeping me company tonight, so I thought I'd show him first, but let's get back over to me here. All right. Greetings. Oh, yeah, this is no longer kitty cam. I gotta turn that off. Greetings. Welcome to the NewPreneur Club. My name is DJ Eshelman, if you haven't figured that out already. And my goal here is to help newer entrepreneurs figure out how to do things. So I thought I'd spend some time with you tonight. Uh, we're going to spend about 10 minutes or so talking about the topic, and that'll be rebroadcast later. And then we're going to have a Ask Me Anything session tonight. So as people join in, we'll ask those questions if they join. So unfortunately, I didn't put out a very good announcement on this. And so I'm not anticipating a lot of people live. If we don't have people live, then I'll just shut it down and keep the recording and call that good. And I'm going to make a slight adjustment here before I get started. A little bit more light. There we go. Ah. Yes. All right. Let's get started, shall we? All right. So welcome once again. My name is DJ Eshelman, and here is the NewPreneur Club for Monday, February 8th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to formulate a business idea, and specifically your first business idea. Many of you out there are thinking about, well, maybe if I just did this one little thing on the side for a while and see how it went, how it goes. Or some of you might be thinking, gosh, I really hate my job and I want to get out. And what can I do to work something on my own so that I can be my own boss? And I got to tell you, it's the greatest thing in the world. It really is. I love working for myself as much as I hate working for myself. My boss is an absolute tyrant who wants me to work all the time. Now, this is funny because I'm actually taking a bit of a sabbatical for the next few days, and I'm going to be working through a brand new business process that includes a lot of this, what we're doing here. And so, not exactly a tyrant, but even on my vacations, sometimes I want to work. And so it's just a part of uh, the gig, I guess you could say. So anyway, I will say a couple things here. First of all, as always, your results might vary with anything we're going to say here tonight. Okay. So if you are seeking financial advice, I am not your person. If you're seeking legal advice, I am not your person. I just want to be clear about all that before we get started. But I wanted to show you or tell you about some options that you have as far as running your own thing and doing your own thing. So, first off, start small. This is always, always, always my advice. Not because I think you're going to have small results, but because it's all about increasing the level of discomfort you have at appropriate levels. And so by starting small, you can actually kind of get yourself one phase at a time. And so sometimes that might mean starting out with, not having any products to sell. You might start out by having more of an outreach kind of a thing. A lot of people will start a blog, for example. And then as the blog gets traction, they might sell ads or they might have products that they develop, that sort of thing. So that might be something to start with. Or sometimes it might be just something as simple as things you share or whatever, or might be just a something you're good at that you start doing. But start small. That's more for the side thing, right? When it comes to actually doing something full time, working for yourself, there is some wisdom that I finally got through my thick head by a guy named Ryan Levesque, who I am very thankful that I've been able to uh, at least meet briefly. It's not like I've had deep conversations with Ryan or anything like that. I mean, he's a very busy man with lots of people to influence. So, but I have had the opportunity to learn a lot from him. And one of the lessons that I wanted to bring to you tonight was that it's more important to get a process than it is to get a result when you're starting out in a business. Let me say that again. It's more important to get a process than to get a result. So what that means is you need to work on the mechanics of running a business before you rush into your passion project. And this is something that I've learned firsthand, and I'm actually really, in the end, glad that I did things the way I did. It delayed what I'm launching this year by about 2, almost 3 years. Sure. But the way I look at it is the way kind of Ryan was saying this, in a conference that I attended, was think of getting your MBA or your master's in business administration. Very expensive to do this. It takes a lot of time, money, and study, dedication, all these kind of things. It's not easy, right? It's difficult. Your MBA will cost you, depending on your circumstance, between tuition, between time you could be doing other things. Some people actually like stop what they're doing to go get an MBA, and that would actually be, if I was going for an MBA, I'd have to stop all of this. I wouldn't be able to do any of this kind of stuff. I'd be always working at it, right? So there's things like that where there's opportunity cost that's lost, things like that. So all in all, you could spend very easily, $250,000 getting your MBA. And then right after that, you have to look for work and you have lost time and all that kind of things. It's not like you just get your MBA, get that certificate, and people will hand you a job right away. It doesn't work like that. You got to still now build experience and viability in the marketplace in order to actually get that money, right? So getting an MBA, expensive process. But what if you could learn on the job and get paid while you're basically learning everything you need to know in an MBA? Well, there's this cool thing called life. Life is a great teacher, and if you allow it to, you can actually let life teach you something about running business processes. And so this is why I say start small to begin with. But there's another concept that I want you to get here, and that is to detach the emotion from what you're doing. And the way you do this is by running a practice business. In other words, your business exists for one purpose, really, and that is to teach you how to run a business. Now, there's a couple of things that are important here, and I'm gonna draw a lot of corollaries here. I chose as my practice business to start doing books and courses so that I could get really good at that. Now, I will say what happened here is I kind of fell in love with it, and so I keep this practice business going. But it's something where anytime I have a new idea or something I wanna try, I try on the practice business first. I try on that because ultimately, when it comes down to it, 10 years from now, am I gonna care if my, Be a Citrix Hero or Just Do This books are selling well? Eh, I seriously doubt it. But I'm gonna care a lot about the process of writing that and what I've learned and what I've carried forward in other books. In fact, one of the things I'm doing in the next few days, by the way, is writing another book. Ooh, here we go. So, all these things that you learn and process, and it just gets easier and easier and faster. And a lot of things that are a part of the business side of things get a lot easier. So, my encouragement is to find a practice business. Now, remember I said that this should not be something you're passionate about. Your practice business should not be something that you want to carry forward for the rest of your life. It's always really tempting when we're starting out as a new entrepreneur to want to just jump into our passion project and make that our thing. And for some of you, it won't be avoidable. You just will not be able to stop yourself from doing that. But I highly encourage you to find something else that you would be happy running, that you're treating as getting your MBA, that you're treating as I'm going to learn how business works by doing this thing. There's a resource, it's in the link down below in the description of this video, that points to Ryan's book, Choose. Now, this is his second book. His first book was Ask. And Choose is really important because it kind of takes you back a step and say, you know what, before you do the ask thing, you really need to choose a business and choose your model. And Ryan walks you through, well, better than I ever could. And well, I shouldn't say ever could, but than I currently can, of a good way to determine whether a business will work for you and whether a business will work for the people you want to serve. Now, I always want you to remember this. In my mind, if you have a business that does not serve people, then you have no purpose in life. And when it comes to running even a practice business, I still say it's something that you need to be at least passionate about serving and providing a solution to a problem of some level. Even if it's an e-commerce business where you're selling products online, for example, even if you're running something like an Amazon store, you're still learning about the business. But if you're not selling things that are valuable to people that actually help them with their daily lives, you might find the passion for that gets replaced with greed. You don't want greed, especially in a practice business, because your practice business is not there to sustain you. Let me say that one more time. Your practice business is not there to sustain you. It is there to teach you. Okay? Hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to be here every week with another tip for you. So I hope to see you again on another Newpreneur broadcast. Okay. Now that I've paused so that my little snippet can be recorded and cut. LinkedIn, by the way, is the reason I'm doing that. LinkedIn will only allow you about 10 minutes of video time. And so I think that gave me just right at about 10 minutes to cut down and maybe cut out some of the fluff or whatever that is necessary there. But I did want to get some time if you guys have anything else, and I will just keep talking and see if anyone pops into the chat in either YouTube or Facebook. That's what we're broadcasting to right now. But yeah, I can say some more while we're waiting, just to kind of further back up the point about a practice business. So in Ryan's book, Choose, I actually read that a little too late in my process. My first iteration of a business was to put out there a product that I was just absolutely confident that everyone in the Citrix world would absolutely want and love. I was confident of this. It turns out not so much. Now, it's not because they didn't need it. To this day, I still hold that if people would be interested in what I was trying to offer, their careers would look drastically different. Every single person that I would have been serving would have easily been making twice their income. That's a big deal, right? But you can't make someone want something. You can't. You can make the best offer in the world, and if they don't feel like they need it or want it, then it's not gonna matter. And so, for me, there's, a couple of things that I've learned. One is that the importance of this practice business, taking something that I was, moderately passionate about, but making it into, "Okay, what can I find out that people want?" First of all. Second of all, how can I formulate that in such a way that they're actually responding to it? And so that became a process of, shutting down a project and making it into written format because as I found out through my searching, that's what people actually were more resonating with anyway. Now it becomes kind of more transactional in nature, which I didn't like. I liked the idea of having, longer term relationships with people that, were ongoing, what we call a membership. But that's okay. I mean, that's where my audience was. And what I'll mention about this further is that the problem became, and this is where I bring up the book Choose by Ryan Levesque, is that he actually lays out a process of searching out Google and searching out these other, places to find what people are actually looking for. In other words, not what they need, what they're searching for. And that to me was something that's hard to get through this guy's head right here. It's hard to get through my head that what I'm offering isn't something people are looking for. And it's fine for the people that know me. I mean, those that have been exposed into my ecosystem and things like that have realized my passion about something and they've responded. The people that have encountered me in some way, shape, or form in the IT world, the likelihood is better than 50% that they've bought one of my books, for example, or even, enrolled in one of my programs. The odds are good because if I can get the passion directly, if I can get to them directly, that's a different story. It's the process of that kind of attraction mechanism that is really important to know that's more of what Ryan's talking about is like, okay, how can you formulate your products and your offer based on what people are actually searching for? That will help them find you. Otherwise, you're spending so much effort convincing them that it's not really, going to be beneficial. And ultimately, I can tell you from experience, if you're having to convince someone to buy from you, nobody's happy. Nobody. Certainly not you, and usually not them. If you've had to convince someone to buy from you, the odds of them asking her for a refund and never getting something from you again are a lot higher. Now, fortunately, in my case, a lot of people are very passionate about what I've done and created, so that's great. But that doesn't always happen. Okay, so sometimes we have to realize that our passion doesn't necessarily translate to results. And that, again, is why focusing on the business practices, the operations, the day to day, all those kind of things that are necessary before you commit to the passion is actually really important. And here's why: burnout is very real, and burnout among entrepreneurs is, I don't have an exact has been measured, but I would estimate that burnout for an entrepreneur is at least 10 times faster than a standard employee. What we tend to see in the US here, the Small Business Administration will back this up, that the majority of businesses fail within their first year. After that, the numbers don't get a lot better. In fact, for the first 5 years of a new business, the odds of it folding are actually very high. Very, very, very high. The reason a lot of times that solopreneurs, like myself, that just are kind of the chief everything officer for a lot of things, fail is we, one, don't get help like we should. I mean, I'm very thankful that I finally actually, yeah, I'm trying to remember which influencer it was that got me to this. I want to say Michael Hyatt um, convinced me of the practicality of having a virtual assistant. That has been absolutely key for me, not only for the doing of things, but also just to have someone that's participating in the business with you. It tends to keep it moving forward. It gives you a reason. But the second and bigger thing is that um, your results may vary. And I mean that in the most extreme ways I could ever mean it, that you will not be able to predict your results from month to month in most cases. For example, um, yeah, I don't know if it's just the noise of social media, if I've been tuned down for various reasons, but book sales have been weird for me. Um, on Amazon, I did okay last month, about maybe average. But what I really want to do again is have that relationship with people. I want to pull that forward. And so if somebody's buying something from me on Amazon, it's my book. They might read my words or listen to me reading them on Audible, but that's not a relationship, right? That's a one way thing. And so when they buy the hardcover from me, obviously more expensive, obviously, but you know what? I can sign that or personalize it. Even internationally, I figured out how to do this internationally where I can send them a message along with the book. And so there's something already more personal about it. And if they're buying from me, I can also get their information. So I have like their email address and things like that. So I can maintain a relationship. I know I'm getting into complexities of a business, but these are things that I've learned along the way here is that, it's important to have that relationship and things like that. That's what's important to me. So when it comes to a passion project, if you don't know how to do those practices up front, then you can lose your passion for that passion project. And that's what I'm concerned about. And that's why I think a lot of businesses fail within the first 5 years is that they just get burned out of trying and failing because you're gonna fail. It's going to happen. You're gonna have wins too. You absolutely are. and your wins are going to feel so good that they're hopefully going to completely override the failures. But, you know, it's choose metaphor, insert it here. As far as um the million ways to make or a thousand ways to make a light bulb kind of metaphors, whatever you want, doesn't matter. The reality is, when it comes to running a business, you have to learn how to run a business first. Otherwise, you're very likely to put too much passion in without enough results, resulting in you shutting down your business and never wanting to do it again. I have heard so many stories from so many people that that's exactly what happened to them. Some people never even get on a starting gate, and I'm hoping in the next, course of this year to figure out how to get people out of the starting gate. That's my first big thing here, right? I want to get people doing this. I am convinced that there's a huge amount of importance to actually having more than one source of income. Now that can mean a lot of different things. For me, it's not only just the entrepreneurial things that I'm doing. I'm actually starting to work in some things with investing that actually are uh, kind of liquidity based. So I'm trading in currencies and that sort of thing. Cryptocurrencies, probably going to get into other currencies soon, but that's all liquidity, right? I can pull that out at any time. It may not have the value I want when I pull it out, but I can, but it's liquid. So liquidity means that I can spend that money at any point without a lot of delay. And so if I just invest in like buying houses and things like that, for example, then I wouldn't really have liquidity unless I sell that house. So that's what liquidity basically means. And so there's some things that I'm doing with that because I'm in a, a building phase of my second business now. Um, Actually, you could say more like third or fourth, technically. But as far as focus area, I would say it's fourth actually, uh, just because that's the way this works. But that that ability to know how the businesses work and how these processes work is making each business easier to launch. I will say it that way. But I'm really convinced that people need to have at least two different forms of income, at least. There's so much volatility in the world. There's so many things going on. I mean, I'm hearing about people getting fired for Facebook posts that they wouldn't even think of as being even in the slightest offensive. These are things that are going on right now, folks. I mean, so having a hedge is important financially, but I think having multiple ways that you're working is equally important. So I really am on a mission this year. I haven't defined a number yet. I'm not that audacious yet, but I really am passionate about seeing more people start at least side businesses this year. And I really want that, like I said, to be something as a learning experience first, and then something you grow into later. One of these weeks, we're going to talk about how to identify a passion in a great way, but it really weighed on me heavily. 'Cause that's what I originally was going to jump right into, is like how to identify your passion, how you want to serve. And I'll be honest, I'm backing off of that just because I would be disingenuous doing that. It would sound much more like I'm trying to be some guru out here trying to teach you their system or something like that. And that's just not the truth. The truth is I just want to help people. That's what I want here. I want to help you launch a business this year, and so I want you to be successful at learning how to do that. And so that's why I'm telling you today that it's more important for you to have a practice business than it is to have a passion business right now. In this, assuming you're starting out. If you're well established, by all means, automate and go after your passion. That's exactly what I'm doing, by the way, with all everything I'm doing right now. Um, Tonight actually is one of the last nights I'm going to be developing content for my tech audience for a couple of months. I wanted to get a course material down, get it out to people so they can start gathering feedback, and so I can refilm it in a couple months. That's my intention. In the meantime, I'm working with a team of people to automate my processes, and so that that business can run itself and continue growing while I pour into this and the things that I'm doing with helping newer entrepreneurs and Christian entrepreneurs. That's my true passion. And so finally I'm feeling like it's ready. But the lessons I'm carrying forward, it's almost unfair. It kind of feels that way sometimes. Like it's almost unfair the amount of experience that I have now that I'm carrying forward. And so Ryan, if you're listening, thank you. Thank you for admonishing me and the other, few hundred people in the room to actually have a practice business first, because there's so many things. I mean, just in the meeting earlier today, I realized that the other broadcast I want to start doing on Tuesdays is called the Squirrelpreneur Show. And this is more for people to tell their stories and experiences of uh, being what I call a squirrelpreneur, where you're just going from thing to thing and method to method. You might be selling the same thing, but you're going from various different ways of doing so. And it's been something that affected me quite greatly. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of frustration learning these things. But just something as simple as simple. I just did it. Just something like launching a simulcasted show like this that goes to multiple channels, into a podcast, in an email list, and all these different things. There's a lot of things that are happening here, but we've been doing this already. We're doing this with my other business called Thrive IT. We're doing it. And so all we're doing is just adding on a same process to what we're already doing. And so we've already learned some of the hard knocks and things like that. So we're already out of the gate going to be way better off than we were. So that's why I want you to have a practice business. So then when it comes to launching your passion, you're not going to feel afraid. You're just going to feel fired up, ready to go. Sorry. That's a phrase that kept on repeating and, whatever. I'm not going to go there. But here's the thing. That practice business, learning that process of business is what has set me up for this year. And that's why I'm more excited about 2021 than I have been in probably close to a decade, if not more. The people that know me, my wife included, have told me that they've never seen me so pumped up. Now, my wife sees another side of this too, by the way, that she sees me scared too, because to be honest, I along with all the with all the business processes and things that I've learned, I've also learned another thing, which is how to be nervous and how to be afraid. That's another thing, unfortunately, I have learned that I'm working on unlearning, just to be fully transparent. I've learned how to be anxious, but I've also learned how to get over it. And so that's what I'm putting forward. So all this stuff, all these kind of practice things that I was doing in previous businesses are all carrying forward into these new ventures. And so, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you have any questions, feel free to just put them in the chat. I need to check and verify that the chat is actually coming up here. So let me log into Facebook. So I should be seeing them on the side here, but every now and then I don't see them. So if you're commenting after the fact, I apologize if I don't get back to you rapidly, especially because right this week, as this is airing, I am actually going to be. Oh, apologies. That's the wrong. Haha, that's YouTube, not Facebook. My bad. My bad. My bad. My apologies. This is awkward. So anyway, I won't be able to respond to comments right away on Facebook this week because I will be at an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee working on these other projects. And so I'm going to try and record some videos and restream them live so that they're appearing live. That's just to get them to multiple channels at once, but I won't be able to answer questions in those live on the screen. I'll be able to chat those, but because I don't know what the internet connection is going to be like where I'm going, I didn't want to risk doing a live broadcast for the other days this week. And so I do still intend to have some content for you, but not necessarily live. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Either in the comments section or if you're watching this live in the chat. And I'm going to try once again to find my live video and make sure I don't have any questions on there. Okay, here we go. Got it. In fact, I'm going to say, hi, everybody, as a chat here. And I'm going to see if it comes up for me. Hey, it does. So then I put it up on the screen like this, and I say to myself, hi, everybody. So that's what it's supposed to look like. So hopefully that comes across. So if you have any questions about, what to do for your first business or anything like that, feel free to ask that here. Give me as much context as you can. We're going to have another, as we go along here, probably in about a month or so, we'll get to the point of having um, these Q&A sessions that are done by Zoom and then rebroadcast so people can actually join the Zoom and do it that way. Right now, logistically, we aren't there because I've been so focused on getting the automations and things in place for my other business that this one's just not ready. But I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wait to start doing things like this that are, for me right now, pretty easy. Like I said, I'm already set up very well to do this with the other business. So I'm like, okay, let's go. I might as well. I'm going to start helping people right now. So that's what we're doing. And that's what you can do with a practice business is you can get that all done for yourself. And so it's not going to be anywhere near as hard when you start going to that passion project. I'm beating this to death for a good reason because it needed to be beat to death to me. So I'm beating it to death with you. You absolutely need a business for your first venture that is not going to be something that is going to kill off your passion because it just is not going to be 100% pleasant. It's not going to be 100% roses. Now, there are stories out there of people that have been so successful with that first entrepreneurial business that was just a side gig that they were able to go full time with it. And you know what? I'm very supportive of that because that's like getting an A in the class. That's like getting a, high honors when you get your MBA, right? Same kind of thing. If you succeed in your business, that's really going to carry you forward. And I just realized something about this here. I'm seeing. Okay, never mind. Sorry, my bad. I was seeing a disparity in the numbers up above, but that's okay. So like I said, just chat if you have a comment or a question, and I'll answer those. I'm going to stay on. If I don't see anything, I'm just gonna go ahead and close up here soon, but I thought I'd give this a couple more minutes because there's a delay when you make a comment live. It sometimes takes between 15 and 30 seconds to show up on my screen, then I respond to it. And so, a lot of times in our talk show formats, the unfortunate thing is, like, when you do that, then somebody makes a comment about something or says, "Ha ha," and you're like, what are you ha-haing about exactly? So sometimes you do need to give me some context, but in this case, it's asking questions. So if you have a question about running your first business, feel free to put that in the chat and I will do my best to answer you. I might ask you for clarification, but feel free to do that. Okay. So to reiterate, one of the things that I should also mention is that your first business doesn't have to be like your second. Your first business doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like the other ones. There's lessons you can take from one to the other for sure. But let's say that your first business is more like e-commerce related. Um, I'm going to use, oh, she's not going to be mad at me, but I'm going to use my wife as an example, mostly because I'm just really proud of her. It's a thing. But she is really good with leather crafting. And so that's something that she's finally doing as a business. This is good and bad. The one thing about this that's good is that she's getting out there and doing something. But the thing about it that's not necessarily good is that it's the first business. So it's kind of, it can be stressful and things like that. But the difference here, and I should have been clear about this to begin with, is that if you have intentions on being full time, then it's important. I now regret not saying this up front. So I did say something like this when I first began, but I think I used the word or. And so I said, if you're running a side gig or want to start a full-time business. But the more I'm thinking about this, it really should be just if full-time business is your goal, even if you're starting with a side gig, then this is all important. But for my wife, she is doing leather work, right? She's crafting beautiful things and selling them. So she's starting out by selling them in a store here in Franklin, which is awesome, because she can just drop them off, and it's more of like a almost like a consignment kind of a thing. So it's very often it's called the Painted Tree Marketplace. If you're here in Franklin, go find Why Me Creations. Just a little shameless plug there. Yeah, but anyway, it's great stuff, and it's wonderful to see her doing it, right? But she doesn't necessarily have a notion of making this like full time everything she's doing. This is something that's just a passion she's doing. And so, what that looks like down the road, we'll see. I mean, I don't think either of us really want to be working full time, as in like, 50, 60 hours a week. That's not what we necessarily want for ourselves anyway. But it's nice to have that diversity, right? And that other things. Now, she might decide down the road, and I'm not saying that she's going to, but there's options for her. She might decide, gosh, I really love teaching. Can I parlay my experiences here into teaching? So maybe she'll start teaching. So that's more than one way to use the same passion. And that's something to be considering when you're launching your practice business too, is you might want to just consider that you might change things up a little bit. So you might start with, like I said, like an e-commerce thing, and you might figure out, you know what, I really want to teach people. And so I want to look into, you know, having a career speaking or writing or um, doing online courses or having an online membership where people are just part of your community and you're teaching them all the time. Yeah, all these things are possible. I didn't mention also, I guess I get flustered sometimes. It does still happen to me, no matter how many times I go live, but I mean, I didn't really prepare all that much. Literally, I didn't have any notes. I just went into this. So I apologize. But um, the thing is, I am better one on one, obviously, but this is why I do coaching. And so if you're interested in pursuing a coaching relationship with me, there are options for you. And so what I'd love you to do is reach out and figure out if we can just spend a little bit of time getting to know each other and see if what would work best for you. There's a lot of different options. I have people that are doing one-on-one coaching. I'm also uh, reformulating a mastermind when this is being filmed. The NewPreneurs Mastermind will be relaunching next month. It was one of those things that it was something I shut down because I wanted to focus on the books, and I've been missing it. I've been missing it a lot. So this is something I'm really, really excited and passionate about reopening the doors to the Newpreneurs Mastermind. And so if that's something you're interested in, what I want you to do first is get to know me. There's no way to enroll in this. Like you can't go to a website and enroll in the Newpreneurs Mastermind. It's not possible. And it very likely never will be, not as long as I'm running it. I'm always going to want people to go through a process of getting to know me first and me getting to know them first. So it's like not just an application process. It's more like a let's see if we have a good coachable relationship before we go into a mastermind kind of thing. Um, not to dig on anyone else's masterminds. I'm part of another mastermind. In fact, I lead a mastermind right now that I'm not responsible for the people that are necessarily in there. And so actually, there's more than one. There's more than one group that I'm not part of the process of vetting who's in there. And unfortunately, that sometimes means that there's personality clashes or just people that are just not valuable to each other. It just happens, right? So with the Newpreneurs Mastermind, this is only going to be available for those that kind of pass the test, I guess you could say, with me to make sure that this is a good fit for them and that they're a good fit for me. I know my people, right? I know the people that are working with me. And so I want to make sure that I'm protecting them as much as anything. And the honest truth is you spend 90 minutes with somebody and you can really tell. And so that's why I invite people to an initial complimentary coaching call with me. Is not to be like, the bait and switch kind of thing. It's more of that this is the way. Pop culture reference. There we go. but it is something that I'm really passionate about. I've seen it modeled. It's worked well for me. It's worked well for others as well. It is time consuming, but it doesn't matter to me because it's doing what I love to do, which is connecting and coaching people, right? And so whether I'm getting paid to do that every single time I do it is not important to me. What is important to me is doing it. And so absolutely. Uh, I'm still going on, aren't I? This was supposed to be a 10-minute show, and I've turned this into a hour-long thing because I wanted to pour into you. So that's what I do. So anyway, if you're interested in pursuing coaching or a mastermind or whatever, the first step is always to book a call with me to let me let me coach you, and we'll see how we do from there. That's the way this works. There's not going to be any offer. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Yeah, I never offer on the first date. And that's you shouldn't either, by the way. If you're watching after the fact here, this is something you should learn as well. You don't propose on the first date, right? Same thing with your business. That's a hard lesson for me to learn, and it's been a difficult adjustment to make too. But that's why we do things like this. We get to know each other at deeper levels before we do things like jump into a coaching relationship, for example. That's a deep commitment for me. It's not something I just flippantly put out there for people, right? So very important that we get to know each other first, and so that's what that is. So what I'm gonna do tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and close up here unless anybody has any final questions for me. But we will see you next week on another Newpreneurs Club broadcast. So tune in. By the way, do me a favor. Let me know what times of day work and what time zone you're in. So in the comments below, just say X time works for me the best, or here's 5 times, 4 or 5 times that work best for me, and I'm in this time zone. That'll help me kind of determine where to go with the time to do these broadcasts, because the honest truth is I work for myself and I can set my own schedule pretty much. But it helps me know when it'd be the most valuable time for you to catch me live, because that's, oh my gosh, how I thrive. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize for that punny rhyme there, but that's what we do around here. So let me know in the comments what time works best for you. Um, I'm probably not going to be too flexible in the days just because I have these days set up already. So Mondays are my Newpreneur Club. Tuesdays are the Squirrelpreneur stories. Wednesdays are dedicated, and that's Wednesdays are a hour-long show dedicated to 11 talents, which is my outreach and service to Christian entrepreneurs at any level. And then Thursdays right now are actually dedicated for my IT audience. And so that's kind of taken up as far as the live thing goes. Fridays are a flex day. And so I'll have Q and A's and things like that. It just depends on which audience that I choose to serve for that week. So Fridays are a potpourri. But anyway, let me know what times work for you for this on a Monday. And I appreciate that. And hey, we're looking to grow this. So very soon we will have some links where you can share kind of a recurring link for this show that I'll be updating every week. Again, another business practice that I've learned by doing, not by example necessarily, but something I can share as a tool for another time. But uh, yeah, thanks for being with me today, and we'll see you next week on another Newpreneur Club broadcast. Again, my name is DJ Eshelman. Happy to be with you, and whatever you're doing, life, business, doesn't matter. Do everything you can to leave it better than you found it. Bye, everybody.